Yohan Suptam Shishun Vrita. Yeah, this is the 51st verse. So Bhima disagreed. He said that he who has killed the sleeping children without purpose, without benefit to his master or to himself, should be killed. So Krishna, when he heard Bhima's words, Krishna actually smiled. And Krishna actually manifested 4 arms. The next verse, Krishna is described as a Chaturbhuja, because at this time Krishna manifested 4 arms. Bhima was about to kill Ashwatthama. With the 2 arms, Krishna actually stopped Bhima, and with the 2 arms, Krishna actually pacified Draupadi. So in order to prevent, Draupadi wanted to save Ashwatthama and Bhima wanted to kill Ashwatthama. In order to prevent, like both of them, Krishna actually manifested 2 more additional arms. So Krishna, who exhibited hundreds of arms in Vishwarupa, he can also exhibit 4 arms when needed. So at this time, the 53rd verse, Krishna is actually telling, I'll read those verses and then we will discuss some points.
He jumped.
So Krishna told that Brahma Bandhur na hantavya atatayi vadarhanaha mayaivo bayam amnatam paripahi anushasanam. One should not kill a fallen Brahmana, Brahma Bandhur na hantavya. But atatayi vadarhanaha, but an aggressor should be killed. Aggressor deserves to be killed. Antatayi vada arhanaha. Maya eva mayaivo bayam amnatam. Please follow Maya eva ubayam amnatam. Paripahi anushasanam. So one should not kill a fallen Brahmana according to the Shastra. The same Shastra says that an aggressor should be killed. So follow both these instructions which are established in the Shastra. Amnatam, which Maya eva ubayam. Follow both these instructions mentioned in the Shastra which are established by me. Paripahi anushasanam, which are established by me. So Shastra say that no Brahmana should be killed. In fact, if you read in the 5th canto, 26th chapter, the description of the hellish planets. So in that it is described that a person who gives corporal punishment to a Brahmana, he goes to a particular hell called as, I think, Shili Mukha or something. I'll mention that. So he goes to a particular hell. So one should not give like corporal punishment to a Brahmana. But the same Manu has said that if an aggressor approaches with a desire to kill, then aggressor can be killed, even if he is learned in the Vedanta. So follow both of these instructions ordered by me, the maker of the scriptures. So that is actually Krishna's this thing. Further, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Krishna is saying that since Ashwatthama is still considered a Brahmana, and since he is not an aggressor, because he is not having the weapon in his hand currently, see, that he should not be killed. That is what Krishna indicated, or Krishna indicated within his mind. I told you previously to kill the fallen Brahmana, but that was only to test you. Therefore, do not kill the fallen Brahmana, but free him. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti is giving the thoughts of Krishna in his. Krishna did not explicitly say that do not actually kill Ashwatthama. Krishna told that follow both these instructions mentioned in the Shastra, that a Brahma Bandhu should not be killed, but at the same time aggressor should be killed. So we see that like I'll just go through the remaining verses and then we'll discuss some points. That the next verse Krishna says that you must also fulfill your promise to Draupadi so that she is pacified. And you must also act in such a way that you can please Bhima, Draupadi, me, and others. You made a promise to Draupadi to bring the head of the person who killed her sons. So you must fulfill the promise to Draupadi, and you should also please Bhima, who is your elder brother. So in this way, Krishna gave the instructions to Arjuna. So we see that many times Shastras give apparently contradictory statements, contradictory rules are there. So when there are contradictory rules, because Krishna is saying that follow all the statements in the Shastra and follow the act in such a way that you can please Draupadi as well as Bhima, Yudhishthir and myself. Like when a cow is attacked by a tiger, we should, in order to protect the cow, you can kill the tiger. One of the reasons why the kings would go for hunting is that they would kill the ferocious animals who may actually come and harm the innocent people or the innocent animals like the cows in the forest, cows in the village. A few years back when I went to like Gokul Dham, it's a farm near the Belgaum, how they were narrating the story that how two of their cows were actually killed by a I think a leper or a tiger. So when a cow is attacked by a tiger, one can actually kill the tiger in order to protect the cow. The 9th canto, there is a story of King Prishadra who dedicated his life for protecting cows. He would whole night he would remain awake in order to actually protect the cows. And once by mistake once a tiger came, and then it was a dark night, and in order to actually in trying to kill the tiger, by mistake he killed a cow. So anyway, in order to protect the cow, you can kill the tiger. But when there are two cows fighting with each other, you cannot actually protect one cow at the cost of another cow by trying to kill the another cow. So sometimes in Goshala you may find that like sometimes the two cows are fighting with each other. So you have to protect both the cows. So similarly, in the Shastra, when there are actually when two statements are actually contradicting with each other, then you have to act in such a way that you follow both the statements. In fact, in the 11th canto, when Krishna speaks about the qualities of the devotees to Uddhava, one of the quality he mentions is that the quality called as Kavi. Kavi means a devotee has the ability to harmonize the apparently contradictory qualities of the Supreme Lord. So even there is a verse, just give me half a minute. There's a verse which describes about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which also describes about this particular quality of the Supreme Lord. The ability to, Mahaprabhu's ability to actually harmonize everything. Just one second. Yeah, this is the verse which comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This comes in, actually, it is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This verse comes in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, 8.10. It says that Helo Dunita Kedaya Vishadaya Promila Tamodaya Shamyat Shastra Vivadaya Rasadaya Chitarpiton Madaya. So, ocean of mercy, especially I will read that point, that quality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in relation to this discussion. So, Mahaprabhu is glorified as that by your auspicious mercy, all the quarrels and disagreements arising among different scriptures are vanquished. Samyak Shastra Vivadaya, Mahaprabhu has the ability to, Mahaprabhu's mercy has the ability to actually harmonize the different like contradictory statements in the Shastra. So here, just like the other day, that one devotee was asking that Narada Muni said that Jugupsitam Dharma Kritenu Shasataha, that whatever you have done is abominable. Vyasadeva, like when Vyasadeva, Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva by saying that Jugupsitam Dharma Kritenu Shasata, does that mean that all the scriptures written by Vyasadeva are actually to be rejected? But the same Bhagavatam elsewhere says that Shraddham Bhagavatam Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. Have faith in the scriptures of the which speak about Bhagavad Dharma and do not criticize the other Shastras. And the Prabhupada, who wrote purport to that same Jugupsitam Dharma Kritenu Shastra, the same Prabhupada, he says in some of the letters, he says that I am very eager to actually bring out books like Mahabharata and the other Puranas, because people are looking for more literatures. We want to actually bring out all the Puranas and the Mahabharata. The same Prabhupada actually gives instruction to his disciple. He tells about his disciple, about his desires. So therefore, we have to learn to actually harmonize the different apparently contradictory statements. Otherwise, if you only stick to one particular statement, and then if you don't even see the other statements in the Shastra, then it is like actually protecting one cow and killing the another cow. So many times quarrels happen in a spiritual society and a dharmic society because they stick to actually one particular viewpoint. It is like actually protecting one cow, but then they don't consider the other cow. They actually kill the other cow. So therefore, that the ability to harmonize, that is one of the quality of a devotee. That requires actually like that requires a maturity. You have to actually see the overall perspective. So here, here we see that Krishna is telling Arjuna to please actually all the parties and to follow the different rules mentioned in the Shastra. So we see that among the Pandavas, Bhima is having a certain opinion, and the other Pandavas are having another opinion. So there are different opinions of the Vaishnavas. All these opinions are based on selflessness. There is no selfishness. So all these are pure devotees, but still they were giving different opinions, opposite opinions based on selflessness. So material world is a place where there is varieties of ways of rebelling against Krishna. And spiritual world is a place where there are varieties of ways of serving Krishna. When Lord Vishnu told the Prachetas that I am very pleased with you because of the friendly relationships he showed amongst you, all of you are engaged in one occupational devotional service. That purport Prabhupada says that the unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. So you will find in the material world, people will unite for a very low cost. People will come together for drinking, people will come together for very low cost easily. But it's very difficult to bring people come together for a higher cause. The Kauravas, 100 Kauravas came together for the wrong cause of adharma. But what actually, why Krishna was very much pleased with the Pandavas was that because the Pandavas remained together for the sake of dharma. So to come together for the sake of dharma, for the sake of service to Krishna, so that is actually that is more difficult. So the unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Lord is real unity, and each and every one of the sons of Prachina Parishad was an individual soul, but they were united in offering service to the Lord. So generally in the material world, disunity is so strong that even in the society of devotees, sometimes the members appear disunited. But there may be disunity in regarding to how to serve Krishna, but there is no disunity in regarding whether to serve Krishna or not. So in the society of devotees, all of them agree to the point that, okay, we have to serve Krishna to the best of the ability. But in regards to the application of the different strategy or the application or how to serve or how to preach or how to do this thing, in that there can be different opinions. So such a disagreement is actually such a disagreement between the different devotees in regarding how to serve Krishna or how to actually follow the dharmic principle. Such a disagreement is actually should be taken as spiritual. But when there's a disagreement about whether to serve Krishna or not, then that is something material. So those who are actually engaged in the service of the Lord cannot be disunited in any circumstance. And this makes the Supreme Lord very happy and willing to award all kinds of benediction to his devotees. So we see that among the Pandavas, that each of the Pandavas had a different nature. And one of the quality of Draupadi is that Draupadi had the ability to deal with the diverse personalities of the Pandavas. So Draupadi represents the principle of unity in diversity. Draupadi united, she was the one who kept all the Pandavas, he made the Pandavas united and he kept them united. Draupadi only united them. And Draupadi also had the ability to deal with the diverse personalities, like Yudhishthira Maharaj would make any decision only after thinking deeply. And Bhima would act impulsively. But Draupadi was able to deal with both these personalities. So one of the drawbacks in of the modern education system, or we see in the modern times, is that people lose the ability to deal with the diversity. People, especially in the Western culture, you will see in every aspect, you will see all the houses resemble same. All the houses resemble same, and even the education system, when there's a uniform, like there's a same uniform from everyone, what it does is that inherently it tries to actually destroy the diversity. There was a video which I saw which said that at the age of 5, 98% of the children think differently. But after 20 years of education, when they come to the age of 25, only 2% of the people think differently. So in one sense, modern system, they try to actually destroy the diversity. So because of that, when we see some contradictory statements in the Shastra or even among Prabhupada's quotations, and people who come from that say Western background, or may not be from the Western country, or anybody who is actually trained in that, who has a conditioning of that background, and they find it difficult to deal with the diversities, and they somehow stick to like one particular viewpoint, and then they end up killing the other viewpoint. It is like protecting one cow and killing the another cow. So we can find on different topics, like Prabhupada also had different opinions. Prabhupada gave different opinions on the same topic also. So therefore here the devotees, the Pandavas are giving, the Bhima is giving one opinion, and Draupadi and Yudhishthira are giving another opinion, and Krishna is telling Arjuna to actually satisfy all the parties, and Krishna is telling Arjuna to satisfy, to follow the different instructions mentioned in the Shastra, and aggressor should not be killed, and aggressor should be killed, and the Brahmana, even a Brahma Bandhu, a fallen Brahmana also should not be killed. So we can see that here there is a like one of the difference between a materialist and a spiritualist. A materialist is actually expert in dealing with the things. Materialist is expert in dealing with the, say, things or gadgets, or he is expert in dealing with the gross objects. So they come up with newer and newer technologies and the better, say, cell phones or better computers and different technologies. Materialists are expert in dealing with the gross objects, but spiritualists are expert in dealing with the emotions of the people. They are expert in dealing with the emotions of the people. So we find that like even in the modern world, like for example, like one person from the Western country, she came to India, and she saw the different say situations in India, and she made a statement that in India, the because the different houses, some houses are big, some houses are small, and the proper sewage system was not there, and some roads were very narrow. So she said that in India, the infrastructure is so poor. The infrastructure is not properly developed. But in the Western countries, the infrastructure is so good. The roads are so perfect, the systems are so perfect. And then she commented, and in India, the infrastructure may not be good, but the inner structure is very strong. The inner structure of the family structure is still strong. But in the West, the family structure has collapsed. There was one video I saw in the WhatsApp. That video showed that how in Japan is considered to be one of the most technologically advanced countries. But in Japan, that video showed that they have started the concept of rental parents. That means you can rent a father or a mother for a certain number of days, a certain number of hours. Somebody whom you can actually, you can rent a friend, somebody whom you can actually speak to, open your heart. And then, so they started, and when you apply for that, then somebody would act as your father or a mother or as a friend. So they have come up with the rental parents. So these countries, the infrastructure may be good, but the inner structure is bad. So therefore, instead of going in a different direction, but the point is that like the Pandavas, they had different opinions, all based on selflessness and service to Krishna, and Draupadi was able to deal with the diversities. So and another concept which I want to speak about is that the concept of Dharma Sankata. So there are different types of Dharma. Essentially, we can say two types of Dharma. The Dharma of the soul, that is the Bhagavad Dharma, and then the Dharma related to the body. The Varnashram Dharma on the bodily level, Varnashram Dharma. So when we talk about initially when a person comes to Krishna consciousness, or when a person starts practicing dharmic life, initially the confusion is between actually dharma and adharma. To give up adharma and start practicing dharma. So when a person between dharma and adharma, the challenge is we may have anybody who has a certain cultural training, he may be able to discriminate, okay, this is to be done, this is to be avoided. Anybody who has some goodness, some training, he may understand, okay, smoking is bad or drinking is bad. He may have the discrimination, this is something wrong, but he may lack the determination to choose the right. But of course, when a person is deeply rooted in the mode of ignorance, then one may even lack the discrimination in choosing the right and wrong. One may consider the right to be wrong and wrong to be right. Adharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasa vrita sarvartan viparitamcha buddhisa partha tamasi. Krishna says that intelligence in the mode of ignorance is that a person considers dharma to be adharma and adharma to be dharma. So, but anybody who has some dharmic training or some goodness, he may have the discrimination between the differentiate between dharma and adharma, but because of lacking the determination, one may choose the adharma. But somehow, by the association of good dharmic people, then when he starts following dharma, then after some time, the previous adharmic things may not actually be adharmic habits which he had may not be the great obstacle for him. But as a person progresses, then a person actually comes up with another crisis where a person is many times caught between two types of dharma. In this situation, do I need to follow this dharma or that dharma? So this is, we can say sometimes it's also called as ethical crisis, or I would say dharma sankata, where a person is actually caught in a confusion, like which dharma to be followed or which instruction of the Shastra is to be applied now. In one sense, for example, and when there is a dharma sankata, that as I mentioned, there are essentially two types of dharma, the dharma of the soul, Bhagavad dharma, and the Varnashram dharma. So in this dharma sankata, there can be three types of dharma sankata, where there is a dharma sankata between between two types of Varnashram dharma. For example, Arjuna had a confusion that should I follow the Kula dharma? The Kula dharma says the relative should not be killed. But the Kshatriya dharma says that aggressors should be killed. He was caught between, he was confused between two types of Varnashram dharma. And Lord Ram was also in a dharma sankata. According to the Pati dharma, he should always actually maintain the wife. But according to the Raja dharma, he has to set a proper example for the citizens. So when the citizens of Ayodhya Vasis were actually speaking ill about the character of Sita, so Lord Ram had such a deep, affectionate relationship with Sita. He didn't want to send Sita to the ashram of Valmiki. But at the same time, being in the position of a king, he had to set a proper example. So he was caught between Raja Dharma and Pati Dharma. Another example is that which comes in the episode of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. When Shakuntala came to Dushyanta along with her child Bharata, and Dushyanta, he knew that Shakuntala is his wife, but at the same time, as a king, like if he had just accepted Shakuntala just like that, then common people would think like suddenly some lady came from nowhere, and the king has accepted this lady as his wife, and they would start doubting the character of the king. So Dushyanta was caught between the Pati dharma and the Raja dharma. So therefore, he behaved in a way as if he did not know Shakuntala. So many times this there is a confusion, or there is a there is a crisis between two types of varnashram dharma. So here in this case of in this episode, that Bhima is telling that Ashwatthama should be killed, and Draupadi is saying that Ashwatthama should not be killed. So there was a confusion between punishment or mercy, punishment or compassion. So this is an example of this type of actually dharma sankata, where Arjuna is caught between punishment or compassion. And another type of dharma sankata is that where there is a dharma sankata between the varnashram dharma and the Bhagavad dharma. The gopis, they were put in a fix to follow the Stri dharma as a chaste woman, or to respond to the call of Krishna's flute and go to meet Krishna in the forest. The wives of the Brahmanas, their relatives and husbands and fathers were telling not to go to the forest. So as a wife, as a woman, they had their dharma of following their actually instructions, but the dharma of the soul, the Bhagavad dharma, dictates that one should actually serve Krishna on any circumstance. So they were caught between these two dharmas. Prahlad Maharaj, he was caught between obeying the father or bhakti to the Supreme Father. So we find in the Bhagavatam, there are various examples where there is a dharma sankata between the varnashram dharma and the Bhagavad dharma. And the third type of dharma sankata is that where there is a dharma sankata between two types of Bhagavad dharma. In the Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda was caught, should I continue to feed Krishna, or should I go to take care of the milk which is kept in the pot, which is also meant for serving Krishna? Should I go and take care of that milk, and in that way, which is also meant for the serving Krishna, or should I directly continue to serve Krishna? And Mother Yashoda was caught Mother Yashoda was actually churning the butter. Krishna came and stopped Krishna caught hold of that churning rod. So Mother Yashoda was churning the butter for Krishna. She was caught in a fix. Should I continue to churn the butter, or should I start feeding Krishna directly? So therefore, that sometimes a devotee may be caught between two types of services, or two authorities are saying like this. Another example is like Priyavrata Maharaj. Priyavrata Maharaj was told, like he was in the ashram of Narada Muni. Narada Muni had given instructions on renunciation. But Swayambhuva Manu, another Mahajan, is telling him to actually become the king. So he was caught between actually like following which authority. So in that way, there are three types of dharma sankata. So in order to make the right choice during the dharma sankata, one should simply not know the letter of the law, but one should know the spirit behind the law. And one should actually know which is a higher principle and which is a lower principle. So one of the definition of dharma, which is given in the I think Santi Parva, Anushasan Parva, and Bhishma Dev's instruction to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhishma Dev says that dharma is that which will benefit largest number of people for a largest period. Says that dharma that will benefit the people for that will benefit the largest number of people and for the largest amount of time. So we see that when there is a dharma sankata, one has to see that which will actually benefit the largest number of people. So, in the case of, say, for Lord Ram, because he is in the position of a king, the responsibility as a king, it becomes more important than actually the responsibility of the husband. Of course, he didn't give up the responsibility as a husband, and he just kept Sita under the care of Valmiki Rishi instead of actually keeping her directly under his care. So, but the responsibility as a king that actually took precedence, because that becomes important for setting the right example for the greater actually number of people. So, in that way, that when there is a dharma sankata, we have to see what is the higher principle and lower principle, and which will benefit a greater number of people, and we have to see that consideration, and we have to see which is most needed at this point of time. Like when in the case of Mother Yashoda, Yashoda was churning the butter, and Krishna came that I am hungry, please, I want to drink your milk. So Yashoda thought that, okay, I can churn the butter little later also, but Krishna is hungry, let me feed Krishna immediately. Therefore, she took the hour of the need. And later, when the milk started boiling over, then she had to attend to the milk. Therefore, which is the most needed at this particular point? So that has to be seen there. The priorities. So here we see that Arjuna, how he acts with this little background. We will see how Arjuna acted. So after Arjuna actually heard
Prabhuji, we cannot hear you.
Radhika Vallabh Prabhu, no audio, please. Radhika Vallabh Prabhu, no audio.
Can you hear, Haribu? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Please start from how Arjuna acts.
Okay. My network is in 4G only, 4G connection. Reliance 4G. Okay. So how Arjuna is acting. So Prabhupada says in this purport, in verse number 54, that
Prabhuji, again, no audio.
keep the video in off for some time so that there will be uninterrupted audio.
Yeah, you also keep only audio on, Prabhu. Don't close the video.
For the time being, because it is getting disconnected.
Yes.
So Prabhupada says that Shastras say that Brahmabandhu should not be killed. But again, Manu Samhita says that an aggressor, even if he is a Brahmana, he is to be killed. But the Shastras also say that an aggressor without weapons should not be killed. So Ashwatthama is without weapons, but although he was an aggressor previously, and Arjuna also had promised Draupadi that he will bring the head of Ashwatthama, and Arjuna also had to satisfy Bhima. So in this way, Krishna Krishna said you must fulfill all these things. So then, how Arjuna acted? So understanding Krishna's intention, Arjuna cut off the jewel on Ashwatthama's head along with his hair. Because in one sense, Arjuna felt that I made the promise to cut off Ashwatthama's head. So I have to fulfill that promise. And because the jewel represents Ashwatthama's head, so removing the Ashwatthama's jewel, that is equivalent to cutting off his head. But at the same time, in one sense, I'm literally not removing the head. I'm literally not removing the head. In that way, I'm actually following Draupadi's instruction not to kill Ashwatthama. So I'm I'm also fulfilling Bhima's desire also to kill Ashwatthama, because in that sense, I'm removing his head by removing the jewel. At the same time, following Draupadi's actually desire not to kill Ashwatthama. So in that way, Arjuna acted. So then Ashwatthama, who had lost his effulgence by killing the children, was further deprived of his jewel and energy, and Arjuna released him from the bondage of the ropes and led him from the camp. So the 57th verse, that the method of killing, vapanam dravinandanam sthanam niryapanam tata yeshahi brahma bandhunam vado nanyosti darhikaha. The method of killing the fallen Brahmana is by shaving the head, taking away his wealth, and taking away the living place. One should not physically kill the fallen Brahmana. So this is the method of, actually there are Shastras described different ways of giving punishment to the different Varnas. It is not that one size of shoe will fit everyone. So similarly, punishment, when we talk about a punishment, there are different ways of giving punishment to different people. And a Brahmana who is fallen, according to the 5th canto, 26th chapter and the 16th verse, it says that if a king or a governmental representative, if he inflicts a corporal punishment means like by killing the person. If he inflicts corporal punishment upon a Brahmana, the king will fall down to the hell named Shukara Mukha, where the most powerful assistants of Yamaraj will crush his limbs just as one crushes sugarcane. So therefore, that Shastras say that corporal punishment should not be given to a Brahmana. A Brahmana should be given punishment by shaving his head or taking away his wealth. So here Arjuna punished Ashwatthama by taking away his wealth. That means by taking away his jewel in the head, and also by shaving his head. And so in this way, all the Pandavas and Draupadi performed the death rites for the dead relatives and carried them for burning. So if we see one of the aspect about punishment and mercy, I will just discuss briefly about that, and then I will take some questions. So punishment and compassion. So it is described that one of the sign of lust or kama in the Mahabharata is that punishing a person more than required. When you punish a person, when you over punish a person, that is a sign of kama, that is a sign of actually a hatred towards the other person. Because like when will a person punish a person more than required? When a person is actually influenced by the anger, and anger is a sign of unsatisfied lust. Anger is a kama anuja. So when a person becomes excessively angry, then he will punish a person more than required. Therefore, punishing a person more than required is a sign of lust. So to harmonize both the punishment and the compassion, that is a great art, because we have to understand the purpose of punishment is to reform a person. The purpose of punishment is to actually elevate a person. If the punishment does not help a person to actually reform, if a punishment does not elevate a person, then you are not actually fulfill the purpose of the punishment. If you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many instances, you see some instances are some instances of excessive punishment, some examples of excessive compassion, and some examples where the punishment and compassion were harmonized. This can be a separate topic itself, but I will just mention some of the examples. Like for example, Dhruva Maharaj, he became excessively angry with the Yakshas, and then Manu had to interfere, and he said that you are killing more Yakshas than required. You have to control your anger. And Prachetas burnt the trees more than required. And then Brahma had to come and interfere, and Brahma told the Prachetas, please actually control your anger. You are actually destroying more trees than required. This comes in the 4th canto, 30th chapter. And Parikshit's son Janamejaya, after the death of Parikshit, he started performing a yajna to kill all the snakes. So just because one snake killed, he wanted to kill all the snakes. So then Brihaspati interfered and then instructed Janamejaya to stop performing that yajna. So when a person, we find in the Shastra, whenever even great souls, because all these people are great souls. Prachetas had darshan of Krishna, Dhruva Maharaj had darshan of the Lord, Janamejaya, the son of is a great devotee. But even great souls, sometimes they fall victim to the, say, anger, and they become excessively angry. But the greatness of these people is that whenever they were given advice by others, and then they put themselves subordinate to that advice and they follow that advice. So Janamejaya, after Brihaspati interfered, he stopped that yajna. Another example of Shringi cursing Parikshit Maharaj. It was actually over punishment towards Parikshit Maharaj. For a small mistake, he cursed the emperor to die within 7 days. It's an excessive punishment. And Jamadagni's reaction towards the wife, his wife Renuka, for a moment she thought of actually having a relation with a Gandharva when she went to fetch water. But Jamadagni, for that mistake, Jamadagni told his sons to kill their mother. It was an excessive punishment on the part of Jamadagni towards Renuka. And also there are other examples like Vasishta punishing Prishadra more than required. Prishadra killed a cow by mistake. It was a dark night. He couldn't identify between a tiger and a cow. By mistake he killed. But Vasishta over punished Prishadra. He didn't see actually how Prishadra for so many years he dedicated his life by staying fully awake in the entire night for protecting the cows. So without seeing the past consistent dedicated service, he just over punished Prishadra for that mistake. And another example of like Brihaspati punishing Indra more than required. Yeah, Indra disrespected Brihaspati. He did not get up when Brihaspati entered. But Indra actually, he openly confessed and repented in front of the open assembly, and he started looking for Brihaspati to beg forgiveness. So Brihaspati should have forgiven Indra, but Brihaspati, he did not actually give an opportunity for Indra to beg forgiveness. So that is why in the 8th canto, there is Lakshmi Devi Swayamvara, this verse comes that Jnanam Kochit Tachana Sangha Varjitam. There are people who are knowledgeable, but they are not freed from material attachments. So Brihaspati was highly knowledgeable, but he also had an attachment to be respected from others. So because of that attachment, he actually over punished Indra. So these are some examples of excessive punishment, and let us see some examples of excessive compassion. We can say excessive compassion, or we can say misplaced compassion. So one example is like Bharat Maharaj's compassion towards the deer. Bharat Maharaj was not wrong in protecting the deer, But when he when he can't continue to attach the deer, when he continued to maintain his attachment to the deer at the cost of his sadhana, then that became actually like he fell victim to compassion or excessive compassion. Another example is Shaubari Muni's compassion towards the fishes. In regards to, because of his compassion towards the fishes, Shaubari Muni ended up cursing a direct associate of the Lord, Garuda. And another example of excessive compassion is that Balaramji showing compassion to Duryodhan. Of course, it's a Leela, but we are seeing from a lesson point of view. Balramji showing compassion to Duryodhan, and Balramji was about to attack like a Bhima. Why did you strike Duryodhan below the thighs? And Dhritarashtra's compassion towards Duryodhana and not punishing him, despite the advice he received from so many people. And Shukracharya not correcting her daughter Devayani. And the quarrel between Devayani and Sharmishta, Shukracharya should have corrected his daughter Devayani. But he took, because of his attachment towards his daughter Devayani, because of his affection towards or compassion towards the daughter Devayani, he went to actually quarrel with the father of Sarmishta, that is Vrishaparva. And then he had to, he told that you have to fulfill my daughter's desire. So that is also, we can say, the excessive compassion. Another compassion, excessive compassion, is that Vishwamitra showing compassion to Trishanku. And he made another heaven. He tried to elevate Trishanku to a heaven by his tapasya power. And then when Indra started pushing Trishanku down, Vishwamitra created another heaven in between only. So this is this is also an excessive or misplaced compassion. So we can see in all these examples, so sometimes excessive compassion also comes from the mode of passion, or excessive compassion can come from attachment to the mode of goodness. Attachment to the mode of goodness, it degrades the person to the mode of passion. Another example of excessive compassion is that Bhishma's compassion towards the Kauravas. When he learnt that Kauravas only had planned to actually to kill the Pandavas in the house of Lac, and when the Pandavas returned, instead of punishing the Kauravas, Bhishma actually divided the kingdom into two halves. Because Bhishma had already appointed Duryodhana as the prince. Like he should have removed Duryodhana and he should have made Yudhishthira as a prince. But he showed that compassion towards the Kauravas and he did not punish the Kauravas. And this is an example of excessive compassion. And then let us see examples of how the punishment and compassion were administered in proportion. And the example is this particular incident where Ashwatthama was punished by Arjuna and also shown compassion. So both were given. And Kashyapa Muni towards the Diti. Because Diti united with Kashyapa Muni at the wrong time, and Kashyapa Muni says that because you disobeyed my instructions and because you disobeyed Lord Shiva and because you did not follow the proper rules of Dharma, therefore your sons will be two great demons who will be against the Brahminical principles, who will be against the Supreme Lord. But at the same time, because you repented sincerely, your grandson will be a great devotee of the Lord. In that sense, punishment and compassion both were shown. For her disobedience, punishment was given. For her sincere repentance, she was also rewarded by saying that your grandson will be a great devotee. And an example of Krishna dealing with Putana. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are, Prabhuji.
So, yeah, Krishna dealing with Putana. Many times we highlight only, okay, Krishna actually showed mercy to Putana by giving her the position of the mother. But actually, if you see, Krishna punished Putana and also showed compassion to Putana. Krishna gave intense pain to Putana for one moment. It's like suppose a terminally ill cancer patient, if he gets all the pain which he experiences, say over a period of 6 months, if the entire pain comes to that person for one moment, like how intense it would be. Like, similarly, Krishna gave intense pain to Putana for one moment, and then in that way Krishna removed all her sinful karma, and then Krishna rewarded, he showed compassion to Putana for her service attitude which she displayed previously, that she wanted to feed the Lord when Vamanadev entered the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. So in that way Krishna administered both punishment and compassion. And Mahaprabhu punished Chota Haridas by not giving his audience to Chota Haridas, but Mahaprabhu also elevated Chota Haridas. Mahaprabhu gave a spiritual body to Chota Haridas. So it is not, so in that way we see both the punishment aspect and compassion aspect, both were there. And we can also see Prithu Maharaj's anger towards the earth and also mercy towards the earth. It comes in the 4th canto. And and also Narada Muni's curse to Nalakuvar and Manigiri, and also compassion to Nalakuvar and Manigiri. He cursed Nalakuvar and Manigiri and also showed mercy. He made them trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So we can see Krishna and his pure devotees, they are able to harmonize between punishment and compassion. Or another example is like Parishit Maharaj punished Kali. You can stay only in this, like he punished Kali by saying that you can stay only in these 4 places. At the same time, he also showed compassion to Kali because Kali surrendered to Parishit Maharaj. Therefore, he showed compassion by not killing Kali. So both punishment and mercy, both were shown to Kali. So therefore, that this art of how much to show compassion, how much to show punishment, so that becomes, I'm just giving the scriptural examples, but in the practical situation, like many times like a person, one gets carried away in the direction of giving excessive punishment, or one may get carried away in the other direction of going into giving excessive compassion. But punish a person in such a way that a person gets rectified, and in such a way that like he also gets elevated. That means like he sincerely repents, and then he increases. He also gets some opportunity to render service to the Lord. May not be in one situation, but in another situation. So therefore, this particular episode, as we mentioned previously, Krishna was testing Arjuna's sense of justice. Evam parikshita dharma. So we see that Arjuna perfectly passed the test by following the different injunctions mentioned in the Shastra, and by he also pleased the different personalities, Draupadi and Bhima. He harmonized between punishment and compassion. So with this, we can understand Arjuna's actually glory, that how he passed the test. So at this point, I will just take a short break. We'll just take up some questions, and then we'll start the 8th chapter. Let me just what is the story of Ashwatthama's jewel? Ashwatthama's jewel. Well, I have to find out the exact story. Ashwatthama received the jewel from Lord Shiva. That's what I remember. I don't know the more particulars of the story. How to know whether it is excessive punishment or justified punishment? By seeing the effect of the punishment. By seeing the effect of the punishment, is that actually one way to judge is like by seeing the effect of the punishment. Sometimes, sometimes we may give the just punishment exactly in proportion to the person's mistake, but still because the person who is receiving the punishment, he is adamant, he may not change only. He may still continue to commit the mistake. Then it's a mistake on the part of that person. Like in the case of Ashwatthama was given just punishment by like Arjuna now, but in the next chapter you see that Ashwatthama did not learn from the mistake. He again released the Brahmastra to kill Parishit Maharaj. So then it is a mistake on the part of Ashwatthama. He continued to maintain the revenge. But another way is that we can actually consult, we can actually take the opinion of others. But one of the how to see whether it's a just punishment is that a person will genuinely repent and he will actually learn from the mistake and he will get elevated. When you punish a person exactly according to the proportion of the mistake, it will help a person to grow also. But sometimes, as I mentioned, that a person can still remain stubborn, and then he may continue to commit the mistake. And another way to know how to know which is a just punishment is that it would be better, because we are also many times, like we also have our human frailties. We need to actually maybe take the opinion or consult the people who have the scriptural wisdom and also the experience of life. So sometimes, like I just gave some theoretical examples from the Shastra about different this thing, but I may not have the experience of dealing with the life. But there are others who have scriptural wisdom and also dealing with they have the experience of life, of going through the different responsibilities or dealing with different. So sometimes when we consult such people, they may be able to see the larger perspective. And sometimes like we may have to take the opinion of people who are actually not involved with the situation, because like sometimes when we are too much involved in a particular management or a particular this one, because of the being involved in the management, we may not be able to see the larger picture. Like in the case of the case of Prithu Maharaj's episode, that Prithu Maharaj wanted to punish Indra. He went to actually kill Indra. And even the Brahmanas who are giving advice to Prithu Maharaj, they said that, okay, you don't kill Indra, but we will chant the mantra and we will kill Indra by bringing Indra into the fire. So even the Brahmanas were also contaminated by passion, and Prithu Maharaj was also wanting to kill Indra. But somehow, Prithu Maharaj, when Brahmaji came and Brahmaji advised that no, don't kill Indra, because Indra is also an incarnation of the Lord. He is empowered by the Lord. So because Brahma was not involved in the thick and thin of the situation, because he could see the larger picture, and so then Kratu listened to the advice of Brahma and then he acted accordingly. So one way to judge whether our punishment and compassion is exactly in proportionate is that sometimes it is important to consult people who are who are not involved in the thick and thin of the management, who are little neutral, and who have the experience of life, and also who have the shastric knowledge. This is something which came to my mind. Because it got disconnected, I couldn't see the previous question. I'm not able to see the previous questions. So I'm just seeing whatever questions which are there currently, I will answer. Is there some wrongdoing that if performed, one is barred from devotional service, or there is scope to continue again, start again, because the Lord is also known as unlimitedly merciful? See, devotional service is something which can be one of the principle of devotional service is that bhakti is independent of any circumstance. Bhakti is independent of any position or anything. So once a devotional service should not be taken away. Sometimes some mistake is performed, then a person may be removed from a particular position. One person may be removed from a particular service in a particular position, but one cannot take away his devotional service. He may be given opportunity to perform service in maybe another position or maybe in another situation, but a devotional service in one sense nobody can take away. Because chanting the holy names, like who can take away somebody's chanting of the holy names? Who can take away actually hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? So in fact, the verse like Sadhureva samantavya apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhag, that shows that Krishna loves not only the ideal devotees, but Krishna loves even real devotees. Ideal devotees means those who don't commit any mistake. But real devotees are when they commit mistakes in their life. But Krishna loves even the real people, real devotees who commit mistakes. But of course, one shouldn't take advantage of Krishna's merciful attitude to actually commit mistakes on the strength of actually Krishna's accommodating nature. Radhanath Swami Maharaj advises to use God-given intelligence in conflicting situations. What is the meaning of that? Yeah, God-given intelligence means like one's gut feeling. Like we have to sometimes you may not be able to consult others. Then you have to just pray to Krishna, and then you have to whatever training you have received, whatever you consult the Paramatma and then take the action. That's why Prabhupada says in one of the purports here that Krishna was testing Arjuna's sense of justice, but at the same time, Krishna as a Paramatma, he was giving the right intelligence to Arjuna. Tesham sadada yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. But Krishna gives the intelligence to a devotee, provided the devotee is satata yuktanam and priti purvakam. One is constantly engaged in Krishna's service with love. So that is why when you sweat in peace, when during the normal circumstance, when you perform, when you have the right consciousness, and during the difficult circumstances of Dharma Sankata, so Krishna will help with the God-given intelligence. Is there any reference of Brihaspati over punishing Indra for not respecting him? Bhagavatam says that this incident tells us about disaster faced by a disciple if disrespects the Guru. Yeah, that's why I mentioned that verse in the 8th canto, that Lakshmi Devi Swayamvara. Lakshmi Devi is seeing the different personalities, and then she sees what are the drawbacks of the different personalities, and then finally she chooses Lord Vishnu as a husband. So one of the group of personalities Lakshmi Devi rejects is that Jnanam Kvachit Tachana Sangha Varjitam. There are people who are highly knowledgeable, but they are not freed from material attachment. So when commenting on that particular verse, Sridhar Swami mentions in the purport the example of Shukracharya and Brihaspati. And I heard in Radha Govind Maharaj's class, and Brihaspati, although he is highly knowledgeable, the example of his attachment he quotes the example of this the sixth canto incident, Indra offending Brihaspati. So there's a references of what I heard from Radha Govind Maharaj's class, and like that. When compassion is shown proportionately, which is well thought out by the judge, but a lot also depends on the response of the individual. He may lack the maturity. In this case, we see Ashwatthama lashed back. In life also, many times the object of compassion lashes back because of being self-absorbed. Yeah, that's correct what you said. Yeah, that is why, like, we from the point of view of a person who is giving justice, he has to think properly to give the appropriate punishment. But still, the person who is receiving the punishment, he has the free will as to how to take the punishment. Many times a person may think it very personally, and then he may still maintain the revenge and bitter feeling. Yeah, that's possible. So therefore, like, let's say those who are in the position of an authority, like, they have to be ready to face the bitterness from the subordinates. Brahmaji was criticized even by gopis for creating the eyelid. Of course, that is a transcendental thing. But Prabhupada says that those who are in the position of an authority, like, they have to be equipoised, because they will get the bullets from the subordinates. Like, the subordinates will criticize them. So one cannot be in a one cannot have false expectation that other people will always appreciate my decision. Isn't it inappropriate that Kali first injured bull and then asking for forgiveness? Similarly, I may also do something wrong and then ask for forgiveness if caught. Yeah, Kali injured the bull. That is definitely wrong. And then he asked for forgiveness. He also asked for forgiveness when Parishit Maharaj was about to kill Kali. So therefore, Parishit Maharaj punished Kali for injuring bull by saying that no, you can reside only in these 4 places. That is like putting him in a jail. Because Parishit Maharaj's rule was so perfect that there was practically no place where these 4 sinful activities were going on. Practically there was no place. So Kali had hardly any place to stay. In that sense, Parishit Maharaj restricted Kali's freedom. Parishit Maharaj punished Kali by putting him in the jail for his act of injuring bull. And then at the same time, Parishit Maharaj rewarded for him surrendering to him by not killing him. Because one of the important dharma for Kshatriya is that a surrendered person should be given shelter. One of the reasons why Lord Ram was angry with Wali, one of the main reasons why Lord Ram was angry with Wali was that Wali did not follow the dharma of giving shelter to the Sharanagata. When Sugriva begged forgiveness, when he surrendered to Wali, but Wali did not actually give shelter to Sugriva, rather Wali started chasing Sugriva. That was one of the main reason why Lord Ram was angry with Wali, that he did not give shelter to the Sharanagata. One of the name of Lord Ram is Sharanagata Vatsala. So therefore, Parishit Maharaj gave shelter to Kali by not killing Kali, but at the same time he punished Kali. How Mahaprabhu showed compassion and punished Chota Haridas? Mahaprabhu punished Chota Haridas by not giving his audience to Chota Haridas, despite repeatedly being requested by the other devotees. At the same time, Mahaprabhu gave a spiritual form to Chota Haridas, I think. And is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita? I think that when Mahaprabhu was in the shore of the ocean, Chota Haridas would come and sing for Mahaprabhu in a spiritual form. That is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Who has the adhikar to pass a judgment? What are the internal and external qualifications of one who is required to do so? Yeah, the qualities, I'm not will remember particular. One of the main quality which I can think, which immediately comes to my mind for a person who can give judgment is that he should be loyal to dharma. He should be dharma nishta. That means, like for example, in the fourth canto, there is a verse about Prithu Maharaj. It comes, Prithu Maharaj. It's described that this king Prithu would punish his own son if his son was found to be deviating from dharma, and this king Prithu would show compassion, or he would actually reward the son of his enemy if the son of the enemy was found to be following dharma. So therefore, the most important, or the fundamental, the most important quality of a person who is giving actually who is supposed to give judgment is that he should be loyal to dharma. So the loyalty to dharma becomes a much deeper principle than the loyalty to the person or the loyalty to the, say, institution, because ultimately the institution is dependent. The basis of the institution is books. Books are the basis. The books means what? Books actually teaches dharma. The Shastras actually teaches dharma. So therefore, the loyalty to the dharma becomes the one of the most important quality which I can think of. And maybe I think it will, if I take other questions, I think time will go. Did Kali seek forgiveness or take shelter? Yeah, Kali actually took shelter of Parshit Maharaj. Took shelter of Parshit Maharaj. And then great souls are Vajradapi Katoram and Kusumadapi Kamolam. So when they are Vajradapi Katoram, it becomes difficult for a disciple, and he may be broken hearted, especially when he is not able to take it as a mercy. Yeah, that is why one should actually, there is one should, like when we face the thunderbolt aspect of the, say, spiritual master, I say we should think that there are so many living entities in this world, but I have somebody who can correct me. We should take it as a mercy, actually. That is why I think in the fourth canto, 26th chapter, in the Puranjan episode, there's a few verses which talk about punishment, that a servant who has a master who will actually punish for his mistakes, such a servant should feel very fortunate. If the master does not punish the servant, that means the servant is very unfortunate. Servant is very unfortunate. So therefore, that this is one of the, like, there's a testing time actually. Let's say Bali Maharaj, one of the reason why Bali Maharaj is a Mahajan is that Bali Maharaj made that statement that Pumsam Shlagyatamam Manye Dandam Arhatam Arpitam. The Yenna Mata Pita Brata Sugruda Chapi. He says that the punishment given by you is actually greater than the mercy given by so-called well-wishers. Therefore, that becomes a crucial thing, that where Krishna says that in a provoking situation, how we actually react, that shows the greatness of the people. But how to come to that situation? Prabhupada says in one purport in the Ajamil episode, he says that by serving the representative of the Lord, by serving the devotees of the Lord, one can, it will help us to develop that consciousness. So I deserve this. It is actually, I deserve much more than that, but it is a mercy I am getting this. So serving the great souls will actually help that. Ashwatthama, this last question. Ashwatthama, being a son of a Brahmana and having so much knowledge of the scriptures, how could he do such a heinous act of killing the Pandava sons? Was it because of bad association or lack of proper understanding of the scriptures? Yeah, one is that he was in the association of the Duryodhan. When you are actually in the company of the wrong people, you also get contaminated. And another is, somebody may have knowledge of the Shastra, but that is why knowledge does not mean that one may be having a simply head knowledge, it may not be heart knowledge. And we have offenses like, okay, to maintain material attachment despite hearing so much. That's the power of the illusory energy, that even a person who is knowledgeable, he cannot actually see the obvious. So buddhi can be covered over by the attachments. So one has the free will. One may have the knowledge, but one has the free will to actually to act according to that knowledge or not, because of that attachment. Or he was given the knowledge, although he was not qualified, because Dronacharya gave the knowledge of Brahmastra because of affection towards his son, instead of seeing his qualification. So I'll stop here. I think I'll go ahead. Just 1 minute. So we'll actually begin the 8th chapter, Prayers of Queen Kunti. I hope to cover at least, I'll quickly cover the first, I think. Let us see how many verses I can cover. Okay. So then the Pandavas, along with Krishna, they put the women in the front and then went to the Ganges to give water to the departed relatives who desired it. So in the beginning verses of the chapter describe the events after the war of Kurukshetra. So they went to Ganges to perform the last rites to offer water to the departed relatives. Te niniyodakam sarve vilapya cha brisham punaha apluta haripadabja rajaputa sarijjale. Offering water to the departed and lamenting intensely, everyone again took bath in the water purified by the dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is the important custom, actually offer water to the departed relatives. So everyone was lamenting. So now third verse is important. How all these people were lamenting, how Krishna pacified them. Krishna, along with the sages, they consoled Yudhishthira Maharaj and his brothers, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi, who are all lamenting the loss of their sons. And all were actually who were lamenting the loss of their sons, and all of whom were overcome with the grief by the death of the relatives, who were all seated there. How did they actually pacify them? How did Krishna console all these relatives? Bhuteshu kalasya gatim darshayan na pratikriyam. The fourth verse, last line. Bhuteshu kalasya gatim darshayan na pratikriyam. Krishna pacified all of them by showing the relentless movement of time. Kalasya gatim na pratikriyam. Relentless movement. That means there is no, you can't actually go against the time factor by showing the relentless movement of time upon all the living entities. Bhuteshu. Nobody is an exception to the actually to the force of time. So Prabhupada gives important purport in these verses. So he says in the fourth verse purport, citing the stringent laws of Almighty and the reactions upon the living beings, Krishna and the Munis began to pacify them who were shocked and affected. So the basis of pacification, what was the basis of pacification? Krishna quoted the laws of God, laws of Dharma. So therefore, by giving them the knowledge, by awakening them, by bringing them to the platform of knowledge, he actually pacified them. So to get material or spiritual happiness, one has to abide by the laws of God or Dharma. One has to abide by God both in this conditioned life and in the liberated state. The purpose of human life is to be reinstated in one's original spiritual status of spiritual liberty. The cause of misery is to accept the temporary life as a permanent existence and accept the material possessions as all in all. So therefore, if we see in the 7th canto, 15th chapter, Narada Muni's instruction to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Narada Muni says that how to overcome lamentation and illusion. He says, Anvik Shikshya Shoka Mohau. 7.15.23. Anvik Shikya Shoka Mohau. By discussing spiritual knowledge, one can conquer lamentation and illusion. So therefore, that we find in various places in the Bhagavatam, when people were overcome by lamentation, one has to, of course, when we give spiritual knowledge, we have to give sensitively. We have to give the knowledge, giving respect to the feelings of the people. So therefore, we have to be sensitive, but at the same time, we have to give knowledge. Sometimes we may give knowledge when we become too straightforward in giving the knowledge, but when we are not sensitive to the feelings of the people, then it may become very difficult for the person to take up the knowledge. Therefore, enlightenment has to be there, but enlightenment should be accompanied with encouragement. But it is not that you simply give some goody feelings, but if you don't give the knowledge, but if you simply encourage a person, but without enlightenment, then that will not help also. So, but essentially, that spiritual knowledge has to be given. And even when we read the Chitraketu Maharaj's episode, when Chitraketu Maharaj's son died, when he heard of the son's death from the unknown causes, then Chitraketu Maharaj became almost blind. And because of his affection for the son, his lamentation grew like a blazing fire. And when he went to see the dead child, he started slipping and falling on the ground. He kept slipping and falling on the ground. He would slip on the ground, again he would get up, again he would slip on the ground, he would get up. And he was surrounded by the ministers and other officers. And then he approached the son and he fell unconscious at the child's feet. His hair was scattered, his dress was scattered, and then he couldn't speak. And then at that time Narada Muni and Angira arrived, and then when they gave spiritual knowledge, it is described that Evam Ashwasito Raja Chitraketur Vijoktibihi. Thus, enlightened with the instructions of Narada and Angira, Chitraketu became hopeful with the knowledge. And wiping his shriveled face, he began to speak. So Prabhupada writes here that the misgivings will be removed. And this takes place by the association of the Lord's devotees who are able to inject the transcendental sound into the depths of the bewildered heart and thus make one practically liberated from all lamentation and illusion. So therefore, that transcendental knowledge is a solution for getting out of lamentation and illusion. The expertise of the devotees is that they can give IV injection. Sometimes a person takes the medicine, but tablet sometimes does not work for the person. As soon as he takes the tablet, he may vomit out. So some people may have to be given injectable so that the medicine directly goes into the vein. So the devotees, they actually inject the transcendental knowledge to remove the lamentation and illusion of the conditioned souls. So Krishna also consoled them by talking about the relentless movement of time upon all living entities, by citing the stringent laws of dharma. So yeah, going ahead. Yeah, fifth verse. So Krishna had, Prabhupada gives a long translation. He says, the clever Duryodhan and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthir, who had no enemy. But by the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous kings who had joined with Duryodhan were killed by him. And others also died, and their duration of life having decreased for the rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi. So this is an important purport. So this verse says that the lifespan of all these Kauravas decreased because of their offense committed to Draupadi. Because of their offense committed to Draupadi. So we can see that, we can see from the Sanatan Dharma how the Sanatan Dharma values protection to the women. The two of the greatest wars which happened in the history of the world is the Ramayana war and Mahabharata war, and both were fought because a chaste woman was disrespected or offended. Just because one chaste woman was offended or insulted, Krishna allowed for such a great battle to happen. So in this purport, Prabhupada talks about the protection of 5 personalities. He says Brahmanas, children, old men, cows, and the women. The killing of the above 5 innocent people is totally forbidden, because even by insulting them, one loses the duration of life. So Brahmanas are actually they should be protected, because the Brahmanas maintain the Varnashram institution. Brahmanas are the teachers to the other Varnas. They are teachers to the society. Therefore, Brahmanas have to be protected. Cows have to be protected, because cows, they maintain a cow maintains the most miraculous form of food, that is milk, which is helpful for maintaining the finer tissues of brain for understanding the higher aims of life. So one of the reasons why people are very less inclined towards spiritual subject matters, or why people are finding difficult to understand even the basic spiritual subject matters, is that because they are not drinking cow's milk. Because practically, according to some statistics which say that, I don't have the statistics right now with me, but I heard in some seminar that the milk which is available in the market, that a small percentage of the milk is only cow's milk. The statistics says that actually from the independence of India, that the human population has increased much more than the cow population. In fact, the number of cows have decreased in a much greater degree, and the human population has increased more, but still the milk is available. So that means, but still the milk is available. That means the milk which is available in the market may not be pure cow's milk. And one of the reasons why people are not inclined towards spiritual subject matters is that because they are not drinking cow's milk, because drinking cow's milk also helps the finer tissues of the brain, and it will help people to understand spiritual subject matters. And women have to be protected because they maintain the chastity of society, by which we can get a good duration for peace and tranquility and progress of life. The women are considered to be the moral guardians of the society. So when we talk about protection of the women, again, many of the Western authors, they criticize, that means they are not allowed to grow. But actually, if you see protection of the women, it is like when you know that something is valuable, when you have some diamond in your house, then the diamond has to be protected by putting in the proper, say, case and everything. So similarly, the Sanatan Dharma culture, they value the women, so therefore they talk about the protection of the women. And also, in that way, because especially the good population, like good population also depends on the character of the women. They are the natural teachers of the children. So therefore, the protection of the women is talked about. And the protection of the children, because it gives human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Protection of the children, because they are going to be the leaders in the next generation. Therefore, they have to be protected. And the protection of the children starts even before the birth of the children. Even before the birth of the children, by performing the proper samskaras to beget the children. So when we talk in the modern world, when they talk about protection, they actually talk protection in terms of physical protection, not killing or giving the food. But the scriptures, when they talk about protection, they talk about protection in all different levels: physical protection on a physical level, mental level, intellectual level, on a spiritual level, and also protection even before they are born. And then protection of the old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death. When Vidura tells in the Vidura Niti that he says that one of the way by which we can actually, suppose if somebody is very angry all the time, one of the solution to actually overcome anger, or one of the solution to overcome restlessness, is to serve the elder people in the family. So by serving the elder people, you also develop certain sobriety, you develop some mode of goodness. So that is why it is important to keep the elder people in the family. When the children get the habit of serving the elderly people, then it will help in their development. They will also develop some sobriety. They will be able to overcome certain restlessness. They will get some wisdom and mode of goodness. And protection of the old men, because it gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death. So therefore, like giving Srimad Bhagavatam to the old people is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to the old people is a very important service. Because the old people, the best preparation for their next life is actually to increase their hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, it's a very important service to give them Srimad Bhagavatam. That is a way of protecting them. So Prabhupada, the verse says that because Draupadi was insulted, therefore the lifespan of all these Kauravas got reduced. Therefore, they were killed. And then, the sixth verse explains that Yudhishthira Maharaj performed 3 Ashwamedha Yajna. But although he performed 3 Ashwamedha Yajna, that he became famous like Indra, who had performed 100 Ashwamedha Yajna. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj was a pure devotee of the Lord, although he performed only 3 Ashwamedha Yajna, he became equally famous or more famous than Indra. So normally 3 is less than 100, but 3 plus blessings of Krishna is greater than 100. So Yudhishthira Maharaj became more famous. His fame was not less than Indra. And then, I'll go to the 7th and 8th verse. So then in this way, Krishna consoled all the Pandavas. And then Krishna wanted to go to Dwaraka. He desired to go to Dwaraka. And Krishna worshipped the sages such as Vyasa. And the sages also worshipped Krishna. And the verse says that Dvaipayanadibir Viprai Pujitai Pratipujita. So Krishna worshipped the sages, and the sages also worshipped Krishna. So why did actually Krishna Krishna worshipped the sages? Because Krishna was playing the role of a Kshatriya, therefore he followed the conduct of respecting the Brahmanas, respecting the sages. But then one may ask, like, then why did Krishna accept the respect, worship given by the sages? The sages were worshipping Krishna because they understood Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, the sages worshipped Krishna. And Krishna accepted their worship because Krishna felt that as a Kshatriya, I should be obedient to the Brahmanas. And these Brahmanas, they want to respect me in this particular way. As an obedient servant of the Brahmanas, let me accept their worship. In that way, Krishna actually accepted their worship. So Krishna reciprocated the greetings just to honor the social order that a Kshatriya is obedient to the orders of the Brahmanas. And then Krishna was seated on the chariot, and then when Krishna was about to depart, but at that time, Gantum Kritamatir Brahman Dwarakam Ratamastitaha Upalebebi Davantam Uttaram Baya Vihvalam. So when he was about to depart, like Uttara was actually coming with great fear. She was coming to Krishna with great fear. She was running towards Krishna. So Uttara speaks the next verses. I will read those verses. Uttaro vacha pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam tvadabayam pashye yatra mrityu parasparam. So she said, O Master of the universe, O Supreme Lord, please protect me. I do not see anyone except you who is fearless in this world, where each living being causes another's death. Nanyam tvad abhayam pashye yatra mrityu parasparam. So in this world, one living being causes the death of another living being, but I do not see anyone apart from you who can actually help me, who is fearless in this world except you who can actually protect me. So the Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. Just like the father is more attentive to the little son who is exclusively dependent on the father. And then further Uttara says that this particular arrow of burning iron is pursuing me. Let this Brahmastra, let this arrow kill me, but let this arrow not kill my child which is there in the womb. I am not praying for my life, but I am praying for the child in the womb. So we can see the selfless nature of the mother Uttara. So here Prabhupada says that, this is the 10th verse. No? Prabhupada says that the position of Uttara was so fortunate. She was the daughter of a great king, Virata. She was the wife of a great hero, Abhimanyu. And she was a student of a great devotee, Arjuna. And she was the mother of a great king, that is Parikshit. So Uttara was glorious in all different, in so many different respects. And as a responsible mother, she wanted to give all protection to the child. And she was not ashamed to express this frankly towards Krishna. In fact, later in the 10th canto, 1st chapter, when Parishit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami to describe Krishna Katha in great detail, that time Shukadeva Goswami, but then Parishit Maharaj says that Matuschameya Sharanam Gataya. Parishit Maharaj says that why I want to hear about Krishna in great detail is that because my grandfathers, Krishna protected my grandfathers. The Kaurava Sena was like a ocean, but because of the protection offered by Krishna, the ocean of Kaurava Sena, which was actually filled with the Timingilas like Bhishma, Drona and other people, that ocean reduced to the water contained the hoofprint of a calf. And therefore, because Krishna protected my grandfather, I want to hear about that Krishna. And then Parishit Maharaj says that Draunastra Viplushtam Idam Madangam Santana Bijam. Let me just read that verse. A beautiful. Yeah. He says that Draunastra Viplushtam Idam Madangam Santana Bijam Kuru Pandavanam Jugopa Kukshim Gata Ata Chakro Matushchameya Sharanam Gataya. When Parishit Maharaj speaks this verse, this is 10.1.6, Parishit Maharaj actually beats his chest. He beats his chest and says that this particular useless body, this particular body was protected by Krishna from the Brahmastra released by Ashwatthama when my mother took shelter of you. Matuscha meya sharanam gataya. So like that, therefore I want to hear about that Krishna in great detail. And then he says that I want to hear about Krishna in detail because Krishna is there as a super soul in everyone's heart. So Uttara is actually seeking protection of her child from the Brahmastra. So we see Uttara's character. I'll just speak a little bit about Uttara's character. So when like actually Virata wanted to give Uttara in marriage to Arjuna, but Arjuna said that I was treating Uttara as a disciple. I cannot actually, she is like in the position of a daughter, I cannot actually marry her. But you can actually give Uttara in marriage to my son Abhimanyu. And then Abhimanyu got married to Uttara. And then, but you see, this particular decision of Abhimanyu, Virata giving Uttara to in marriage to Abhimanyu. This is a very bold decision because it was a known thing. It was already expected that there will very soon be war between the Pandavas and Kauravas. Very soon there will be war between the Pandavas and Kauravas, and like even the Abhimanyu being a Kshatriya, he would actually assist his fathers in the battle. So fighting in the war means that one can die in the war. But like Uttara got ready to, like she was ready to be married to Abhimanyu. That means it was a very risky decision because it means that like if her husband dies young, then she would become a widow for the rest of the life. And Abhimanyu was such a person, he was more excited in assisting his parents in the war than about getting married and experiencing the pleasure in the marriage. So he was more excited about actually assisting his fathers in the Dharma Yuddha. So, but Virata was willing to put his daughter in a very difficult situation by arranging her marriage with Abhimanyu, who could be killed within a few days or a month after his marriage. Like, why would somebody make such a decision to arrange for the marriage with such a person who can get killed in few months? Instead, why not wait till she could be assured of some certainty to have a long, happy married life? And sure enough, like Uttara became a widow within a few months of her marriage because Abhimanyu was killed by the 6 Maharathis. So what was her gain? One may say that she only experienced suffering for the rest of the life. So it was a wrong decision to on the part of Virata to arrange for the marriage of Uttara with Abhimanyu, because she experienced suffering for the rest of the life without the husband. But actually, if we see from another perspective, that Virata was a great king and had respect towards the Pandavas. So marrying his daughter to Abhimanyu was certainly not a materially profitable decision from one point of view. But from the point of view of because the Pandavas were great devotees, were great kings, so therefore Virata took the decision. And from the point of view, Uttara was willing to take that responsibility of allowing her husband to perform the great sacrifice and become the wife of an immortal husband. So many times, we can see the sacrifice on the part of Abhimanyu. But the sacrifice of Uttara remains in the background because Uttara also allowed her husband to fight in the battle. Just a newly married husband, but still she allowed her husband to fight in the battle. So that shows that actually Uttara also had the sacrificing spirit. Because there's one verse in the Bhagavatam in Prithu Maharaj's instruction to the citizens. He says that a person who is performing an action and a person who gives sanction to that action and a person who cooperates with that action, all three people take actually, they get the benefit of that action. All three people get the piety in that action. So Uttara, in one sense, she did not directly take part in that war, but simply by giving that permission, being an Ardhangini, giving that permission to Abhimanyu to make that sacrifice, by that she made that sacrifice in the background. So therefore, we find that Abhimanyu did die early, but Abhimanyu was like a powerful medicine that goes into our system and destroys the disease itself, and along with the disappearance of the disease. Along with the disappearance of the disease, the medicine also becomes non-existent. The medicine goes into the system, the medicine becomes non-existent, and the disease also disappears. So Abhimanyu made that sacrifice that he, in sacrificing himself, he actually helped the Pandavas to penetrate into the Chakra Vyuha. So therefore, that Abhimanyu's death was not a death, rather his dedication for the cause of the Pandavas. So therefore, we can see that because Abhimanyu had that sacrificing spirit, and Uttara also had that sacrificing spirit by allowing Abhimanyu to make that sacrifice, and the same seed of sacrificing spirit was planted by Abhimanyu in the womb of Uttara, and that was Parikshit Maharaj. And Krishna wanted to protect that the spirit of sacrifice of the Pandavas, and therefore Krishna entered the womb of Uttara and protected Parikshit Maharaj personally with his actually Sudarshan Chakra. So Krishna, in one sense, he did not protect his own dynasty from the curse of the Brahmanas, but Krishna wanted to protect the spirit of he wanted to protect the sacrificing spirit of the Pandavas. He wanted to maintain that legacy of the spirit of sacrificing spirit of the Pandavas. Therefore, he protected Parikshit Maharaj. So therefore, we can see this attitude from Uttara and Abhimanyu. So therefore, Uttara and Abhimanyu, what we can see is that the purpose of marriage, the primary purpose of marriage is the spirit of sacrifice, and the enjoyment is the secondary result. So therefore, even in any relation, whether it's a marriage or other, the primary thing is the responsibility, and the enjoyment is the secondary thing. So because Uttara and Abhimanyu both had that the spirit of sacrifice, therefore they made the choice, and then Parikshit Maharaj, the same spirit was actually implanted in the form of Parikshit Maharaj. So then Krishna understood that Ashwatthama had released the Brahmastra, and then Krishna, how he protects the Uttara from that Ashwatthama's Brahmastra, we will see that tomorrow. So, and then we'll begin the Queen Kunti's prayers also tomorrow. Anybody has any other questions or comments they can make? It's 12:50, I will end the class. So I think I'll end the class here since there are no questions. Thank you for your patient attention. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.